Why, hello everybody. It is Robbie from Southern California, and can you believe August 1st, and yes, this is a garden tour. I can't even believe it's August 1st. Look at all the tomatoes, and look at my makeshift stick that I made. I'm making my own tomato steaks. I've got to get that video up. I'm not sure if I've done it yet. Squash everywhere. Haven't even planted in these containers yet. Oh, I've got so many gardens, I can't keep up with all of them. That was that little tiny cobra pepper. It's starting to take off. That was a teeny one. When I bought it at the dollar store, there was a little teeny one, just a little seedling that came up, and now it's starting to take off. But we're getting cobra peppers right now. That's potato plant. It's dying back. I've got to do a harvest. I don't know what's in there, so I will do it with you, but that's going to be amazing. And look at my watermelon. It is growing up on this piece of wire I put there, but I'll show you what's really funny. We'll keep going. 2 moringas. I want to get one of them in the ground. There's another one floating around here somewhere. And then there's the cobra. Look at this. Gary's been eating them. See, there's the black one. And then there's a little one that's just starting. It has been full. I had 3 plants, and I gave one to my son-in-law because he loves his peppers. So I hope he's got them already. I forgot to ask. Okra, and then Malabar spinach, and I'm hoping, I'm not sure what this is, but somebody told me that it's cantaloupe. I haven't seen any fruit on it yet, but if it's cantaloupe, I have to double check the seeds. The seeds I put in there, it's the only seeds I've got is from like 1978, so that'll be interesting. But look at the Malabar spinach on the shoe rack. This is going to be interesting. I'm waiting for it to go all the way to the top. Oh my goodness. I want to get through this quick because we're going to hit 100 degrees anytime, and it's really, really hot. We've got a lot of the squash is starting, we've got tomatoes back there, but a lot of the squash is starting to die back. I thought it was because it was finished. These are actually, as you would say, storing squash, but some of them are starting to make a comeback, which has been surprising. So I think they're gone, and then all of a sudden, look, they're springing into green growth. So we'll see what happens. I'm not taking anything out yet. And then here is that box. I made the video on that. This has been really good just to retain everything just the way it is. It protects all the stuff that's in there from the sun. It's kind of like ground level, but I've got containers, so you could actually lift the containers out if you wanted to. This is celery. This is more celery. This one is garlic chives, and this is some Swiss chard coming up in a bag that's from cereal. And I still have room for one more. It's worked out for this, but it's going to deteriorate real soon. But, you know, for that, it's worked out really, really good. Tomatoes. Oh, this is the one that's in the ground here, came up in the rocks. It's kind of fallen over because there's no way to stake it. I have to pull this thing up. Oh, look at the peppers. Look at the peppers. Oh, look at them. We've got to get that off. Look, look, look. I've got peppers growing in that tote. Can't even see the tote. So I've got the tote there. I've got that squash plant that's coming out of that tote that's going there. And then the tomatoes, it looks terrible, the leaves, but boy, does it throw great, great tomatoes. It's growing in the rocks. More peppers. More, oh, this is a cucumber, and I was going to take it out, and it's making a comeback too on its own. See, I think we've got some little cucumbers, and yes, we do, and a bee. Let's respect the bee. So the cucumbers, I trimmed it all back. I take all the browning leaves off, especially in the heat. Like I need to trim all these yellow leaves off. If it's not doing the plant any good, I want to get it off. And if the plant makes it back, I see a cucumber back there. If the plant makes it, you know, through that and it starts to pull the moisture and it makes it, then I'll leave the plant because some of them I did pull out. I think I pulled the delicata out over there. They were done. Oh my gosh, I got to get some more growing. The dogs could kill for it. It was so good. Baked that thing up in the oven and it was as sweet as could be. Just wrapped it in foil, put it in at 350 for about an hour. I had something else in the oven the other day, and it was like eating a mouthful of sugar. Delicata is what it's called. Really cool squash. I saved my own seeds, so that worked out really, really well. So let's keep going. We got more squash, we got tomato plants, more peppers through there. There's the other moringa. This is the one I want to get in the ground. It's taking off. I actually have a place for it. I'm not sure on this if it's going to make it or, oh, I didn't even see that. Look at that. We got a squash down there. missed that one, but there is a lot of squash. We don't harvest unless we're going to eat it. Because if I harvest zucchini, the skin gets hard right away. If I leave it on, keep the plants well watered, then the fruit is much better. I don't want to store it. My dill is going to go to seed. I'm going to have to get some more growing very quickly. That's the flower, and it's going to go to seed, which is great. I collect the seed, and I need to get it growing because I use a lot of dill because I make zucchini pickles. That is something we go through a lot, and that doesn't matter if the zucchini is big or small. More squash, celery, tomatoes, basil, sage. There's lettuce through there, celery. Weeds. I've been leaving a lot of this for the birds because they're having problems finding food, but I do have some carrots down there. So finally got some carrots growing. I don't know if you can see it, but we've got carrots in there. And then I've got an eggplant coming up. And here's the chair that was at the front door. I've got midnight snack tomatoes on that. I've got turmeric in there. There's a little bit of Swiss chard coming up and some purple basil and who knows what else is in there. Oh, I see stevia in the back. So this has been good. So there is the wall that you have watched me build just a couple months ago. It took off and exploded with food, and it's been amazing. Easy to take care of. I just walked down, but not as easy as my other garden, but really, really nice. And I'm very anxious to see, well, not anxious because I don't want to get through summer that quick, but I am anxious to see what it's going to do this winter because this wall stays warm and it gets sun because it's kind of south facing, so it gets direct sun. So we'll see in the winter what it does. Who knows what I'll be able to grow back here. I'll clear it out, compost all those leaves. Anything we don't use as far as fruit, vegetables, all becomes soil again, and it works out fantastic. Let's go to the front yard. Oh, there's my chair. We are now in the front yard and things are finally happening. Do you see a difference? If you've seen the other garden tours, it's not cleaned up yet, but it's something we just started. And this is another project of mine. It's going to be set up very similar to my chair garden, my cherished garden, but not on chairs. There's no chairs here anymore. I'm getting rid of the chairs. Do you see what I've done? Believe you me, it doesn't look like much, but it's going to make 100% difference for me. See this? The whole center's been taken out. Look at this. This is wood chips, by the way. Do you see this fine dust? That's wood chips broke down. It was underneath the containers, all these totes that we moved. Gary and I moved these totes. See, all the wood chips broke down into beautiful compost.
Yeah.
Those stayed, and that wood burning thing my daughter gave a pit, that's staying right now because the pumpkin has adhered to it. So we're going to leave it. I think I see a little pumpkin. I don't know if it's any good on it yet. But we left that. But see how I moved the totes? Now you'd say, what's the big deal? It is a big deal because I'll step back over here so you can see. This is where I come through. Here's the hose. See the hose here? What I used to do is come through here and wind around like a maze. Just like a maze. I'd have to go around with the hose, and as soon as the hoses dry out a little bit, they kink, they're horrible, and it was hard to walk around. And I thought, I changed and made a chair garden. Took that whole area in the back, you've seen it, we'll go through there, put, 11 chairs, 13 chairs, can't remember how many offhand right now, and made the easiest garden in the world to take care of. Why don't I change the front yard to be similar? And that's what I've done. This is basically like a horseshoe. I come in here with the hose, I go around in a circle, including the zucchini, and I'm done. Before, I had to walk all through. It was making my life harder. It took 2-3 times longer to water. This is not cleaned up because I am going to redo the plants. I'm going to redo a lot of this. I'm going to get squash in here. I'm going to get greens in here. Who knows, peppers, whatever. But the main thing is servicing it. You walk in the center, Yes, this is going straight on the ground. So see, you can set up like I did the chairs straight on the ground. And then I can designate areas maybe on the ground I want to grow in. If you had it set up something like this, you could do whatever you want, but this is blacktop. This is a blacktop parking lot is what it is. It was for 2 or 3 cars. There was no soil here, and Gary dumped a bunch of wood chips, which has now broken down the soil. So now I can possibly grow in it, but look at this. Now I still left this open, so I can walk through here. Gonna move the blueberries. Those containers are too small. I want to get them in a better place. Still take care of the little bit of mint here, and still take care of my field of celery that I've got growing on a stump. I'm gonna leave the stump. Gary asked me, do you want me to move the stumps? No, he put them here a long time ago. There's another one. I'll probably change up the water feature to something really cool. I'll leave them, they're not in my way. But now I have created that horseshoe effect where I could just walk in here and be done with everything in less than 5 minutes. And look at this. Yes, oh my gosh. That is a zucchini, and I've got to get it off. Look, oh, there's another one back there. Look at that. So that's going to come off today and get that made into something, whether I'm going to make a strawberry mousse out of it, or cake, or probably many things out of that one. It's so big. This one, I didn't even plant in here. I don't think I planted all those plants. I've got tomatoes growing and squash growing, and there's mint. Gary wants the swimming pool, so I'm going to give him the swimming pool. He said he has ideas and thoughts. Look, there's another squash down there. Going to let him take the pool pretty soon and take this tool down, because I really haven't had it closed. I've got a big rabbit that lives here. I know what he's eating. He's not eating the stuff that right now that you see, but I do know what he's eating. I'll show you. And let him take that, and then I'll clean this up. I have an area where I am going to put new tool and a new color and everything. So, but look at this. I'm really excited about this. I'm going to get a better stake for the solar fountain. Going to fix this up and be able to maintain this thing in minutes. Instead of coming out here and walking around, I can service those totes from the front or the back. Walk in here, get everything watered in less than 5 minutes. And I only water in the summer every other day. The totes hold water because a lot of them don't have the holes on the very bottom. So they hold water and they do beautiful, even in the heat. But I'm just so excited about this. Okay, you've seen enough. You're going, go on, go on. You know, let me tell you a story. A lot of people see Buddhas. They've made comments. I have a Buddha there. A long time ago, I went and bought this little Buddha, and he was holding something in his hand, and I thought it was so cute. It looked like an egg to me. So I bought the Buddha, and of course, some of my friends saw it and like, oh, you have a Buddha. I said, yeah, I just love it. And then everybody started buying me Buddhas. So I ended up with Buddhas. I've got more in the house. It's like, no, I only wanted the one. But, you know, I like him. They seem so cheerful. Doesn't he seem happy and cheerful? And yes, I did paint it to make it look like he's holding an egg, a bird egg. Anyways, that's the story on the Buddha. Ah, I'm being attacked by a fruit beetle. Okay, the fruit beetle's gone now. He was knocking into me. I don't know what all that was about. But now you do know the story on why you see Buddhas periodically, because I ended up with a house full. Okay, so the celery's doing good. Look at the onions. I've been picking onions. One thing I have not had to buy was onions. Truthfully, I should have harvested them all, but I kind of left them. And it's worked out really good. It's so fresh. I come out here, grab an onion. I haven't even taken any from here. I had another tray on the deck that I was pulling, and I think there's 1 or 2 left in there. So that's worked out really good. So the blueberries are being moved, and these are starting to throw flowers again. So, well, look at the blueberries. 2 little blueberries. I'm going to move them all the blueberries into bigger pots and move them somewhere else. Anyways, it's not aloe vera. It's a different type of plant, but they grow beautiful orange flowers, and then the hummingbirds love them. We have a lot of flowers for the hummingbirds. Don't kid yourself. A lot of people say, why don't you grow flowers? We've got flowers all over. Not in the gardens too much, but the hummingbirds do feed off the garden. And then the purple tree collard, this is the one where, look at how big it's gotten. This is the one that the deer ate. I took the piece that the deer had left, remember, early in the year, just stuck it in there, it set root, and then the one where it got chewed off just took off. So now I've got 2 purple tree collards in there, and I'll see what happens as time goes. So hopefully in 2 weeks, let me keep going, you're gonna see a big difference in here. And look, this is still cuttings off that purple sprouting broccoli, which I don't know what I'm going to do with. Not really crazy about that plant. But hopefully in 2 weeks you'll see a big difference. And then this is the tool I'm taking down. Going to redo the bricks in here, the cinder blocks, whatever they call them, these cement bricks. And I'm going to plant in and better. I'm just starting to do it here. I put one in here. See, this is a plastic pot. And then it's surrounded with, clay soil and different things. And I'm going to put a lot of walking onions in here. These are walking onions. See how it sunk down? I don't know if there's a pot in here. This one doesn't have a pot. So I'm going to have it in a pot, but their roots can go out of the bottom of the pot. See what the rabbit's eating now that the tool is falling away? This is green sorrel. He loves green sorrel. That big rabbit, somebody saw him in one of my last videos. They said, you got photobombed by a rabbit. I didn't even know he was here. I come out here and he does not move. I'll walk through the garden and water and he just sits and watches me. I saw him about 30 minutes ago and he took off. He is massive. See, I put this metal trash can on top. Look, he couldn't get to this. This really needs to be separated anyways. But see how he ate it? And just by putting the trash can on top, he didn't bother that. But all the tool is gone. It's so old already and it's finally seen its day. And what did this tool cost me? $3 or $4? It's like not much, but I'm going to do it in a different color. And here's the one I left open for him. See the big hole? So he comes here and he sits and he loves green sorrel. But there's nothing wrong with this. This is how you move it. You cut it all down and then you chop it into pieces or break them apart and then you plant in different places. I'm not real big with green sorrel. I use it in my green drinks. Anything I need greens, whether it's eggs or putting it in rice or different things, I'll grab a few leaves. But I do want to save it, so I'm going to separate all this, put pots in every single opening on these cement blocks, and then I'll replant it probably after I put the tool in, because if I do it now, he'll just eat it. So that's what's going on here, but it has gone. Yeah, more Buddhist. So here is these containers. I grew squash in last year and tomatoes. Look at the tomatoes. I didn't even plant these. Is that cool? Look at this. It's full. It's from last year's plant. It dropped some seeds and the volunteers started coming up and I left them. I think there was one tomato plant in the back I planted, which really hasn't done much. Probably because of root competition, the one that came up from last year on its own did much better. And that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. I don't believe I've had any red ones off of this yet. So it'll be interesting to see what it tastes like. But the other ones tasted good. And then a squash plant came up in here. And these are like little dumpling squash, see? They're flat. And you bake those and they're real sweet. And then there's more tomatoes these are volunteers trying to grow. So, there's 2 tomato plants. I didn't even realize that. Shame on me. Look at the other tomato plant. See the trunk on it? That's another tomato plant. So we have 2 tomato plants growing here, and that's going to be really cool. So that's what's going on here. I'm leaving the tool. This is old tool. It's not really doing anything, but maybe holding up the plants a little bit and deterring some of the birds from coming in here and chewing on tomatoes. So I'm just going to leave that. I'm not going to redo it. If it falls off, it falls off. It's not important. But that's what's going on here. And then, of course, my ginger, turmeric, and stevia table. Look at all the stevia back here. Is that gorgeous? Can you imagine one plant, one container I bought years ago has just spread out in all those different pots, dropped its seeds, did its thing, and I have never had to buy stevia again. Just the one plant was great. And the turmeric, you know that. The turmeric's got the big, big leaves. And the ginger has skinny leaves, and this is ginger, so it's really easy to tell apart. And a lot of you ask me, like, when do you harvest it? I can harvest it right now. If I wanted a piece of ginger, I would just dig to the bottom, get the ginger, cut off what I want, and leave it, or pull the whole thing out, cut off what I want, and plant it back in. There's a lot of different ways. You don't have to wait for a harvest day. You can eat that at any time, and I believe it is the same with turmeric. Here's my black turmeric. Isn't that beautiful? And what was that? Look at this. Something must have nibbled on it. See how it's perfectly across when it was really tiny, like when it was just unrolling? And so now it's got the holes. But that's it. It's doing really good. And this isn't even all of it. I forgot to show you in the driveway. I've got more growing. There was no room to put it all back. So I hope this year we have a whole lot of ginger. What I do is I harvest it when they do die back, if we don't need any right now. Harvest it then. I keep what I want, use a lot fresh, and then just wash it, clean it, freeze it, and then plant back what I want. Remember, you can't plant anything you froze, but I pick out what I want to plant and I replant back what I want to plant. And that's it. Now we're in my main garden, the bird garden. That's what I'm starting to call it. See, this is more green sorrel. I have it all over, so I don't worry about it. Walking onions, this should be cleaned up. Probably a bigger pot. And then this, I guess you would call like winter squash. Here's your spaghetti, your storing squash. It's seen its better days because it's done. There's spaghetti squash all through here. There's one in a bucket. Look at that. Then I've got a big kabocha down there, which is probably ready to be harvested. I haven't even looked, but we should see if it's ready. You know, the curly Q may not be brown yet, so we'll have to see. And there's more in the back there, so this is doing really good. In hindsight, I'm going to say this and then check my video next year. There's more spaghetti squash. I would rather do something that doesn't leave. I was going to trellis it up, and I changed my mind. It was going to be so much work to trellis up great big spaghetti squash, and we're not crazy about spaghetti squash. My favorite squash is zucchini. I can do anything in the world with zucchini. Like I said, you can make a dessert out of it, you can make dinner out of it, but with spaghetti squash, it's very distinct, like a lot of other squashes, and so you use it the way it's really meant to be used. So I really do like zucchini. Next year, I hope that I get zucchini in here, and then maybe do something different with the spaghetti squash and run it along the fence in the back and do it that way. We'll see what happens then. Here is the beautiful purple tree collard I bought on eBay. And yes, see the trunk? And there's a whole video on that. It has not changed. See where it, I don't know if you could see. It's very hard to get down here with the camera. See, it's still hard there, but it's getting bigger up on the top. So eventually, someday I'll either have to top it or keep it short, and I'll get cuttings off when I'm ready. I'm getting close to getting cuttings. I had to wrap it because something started bothering it, but now that I put the tool around it, it doesn't bother it. So it was coming from the bottom. It could have been a rat, could have been a mouse, could have been a squirrel, but they don't like the tool, so they stopped chewing on the top, and the top came back even better than it was before. So that's the purple tree collard, and then I do believe I've got some flowers that will be opening soon on the dragon fruit on the other side of the wall. I found some small ones the other day, and look, more hybrid Brad's tomatoes, the Brad's atomic tomatoes. Oh, there's some Malabar spinach down there. Celery, oregano, my old dinosaur kale that's over 5 years old. The birds chew the dickens out of it. But that's my last old dinosaur kale. Lemon verbena, all this you see is dinosaur kale growing through here, all cuttings from the original plant. Red vein sorrel, more walking onions. Let's swing around real quick here. Let's see. I've got celery, I've got walking onions, the same thing, more lemon verbena, more red vein sorrel. Those are a lot of my seedlings there. Mushroom plant, which is really cool. I planted one here, it's going yellow. I'm going to have to, never mind. I've got cuttings in there and the cutting in here made it. So I do have 2 plants. I want to make sure I have at least 2 plants on the mushroom plant. I don't want to lose that. And then some mint, because it's hard to come by sometimes. Okay, let's walk over here. I'm going to plant some seedlings in there. There's nothing there, but I can sprinkle in tomatoes or peppers or anything I want. I like planting this time of the year this way. Just throw some seeds in there and then move them as I need them. So I could throw in dill, I could throw in lettuce, and I wouldn't leave it out in the sun, not seedlings once I start it. But right now I was soaking it. I want to make sure the soil's really good. No, I can't get back there. It was all cleaned up. See, I had a stepping stone and with hummingbirds. I bought that close to 30 years ago at a Petco that was clearing out all these stones for like $1 a piece, and that's why you'll see them all over. And I bought them all. I had no idea what I was going to do with them. I'm starting to use them now. But yes, I can't get back here. See, and this is the dragon fruit. So I have to be careful because it's got spines on it. But yeah, I kind of got pushed out, so I do know I've got some stuff back there, but I think it's Malabar spinach, so I don't really need it. And the lemon verbena has just taken off. It's beautiful. I haven't even made any tea out of that. for a while. I've been using chocolate mint. I really like the chocolate mint. Tomatoes, and then more walking onions. I've got this dreaded strawberry mint down there, which is that whole area here. Smells wonderful when you brush up on it. It just doesn't taste good to me for mint. Oh, and then of course I haven't done any, oh, we're getting seeds. I didn't see it, but on top, let me see if I can point you where it is. I think it's right around there. Is that where it is, or is it up further up? I see that the purple sprouting broccoli is going to throw some seeds again. So maybe I should collect some seeds, but I don't see anything else really throwing flowers yet. So it could be pretty much true. I'll have to keep an eye on that unless the birds chew it down. The goldfinches, which we now have created thousands of goldfinches. There's another bird that we rarely saw 25 years ago. Gary would be so excited to see one. Now we have hundreds and hundreds that come in here all day, bathe, eat, and they're eating everything. They eat greens, they eat the seeds that come up from the top, that is on the top there. And so I never know what they're going to nibble on, but we've created a mass amount of that. And then, of course, they're gone now. See, they're foraging. It's also going to be very hot today, so they'll find cooler places to be. But that's okay. I call this now my bird garden because even though I do go through and I pick a lot of food out of here. Believe you me, this is where mainly most of my food comes from. I really like that I can share what I grow with nature. I don't need it all. We don't need it all. And any of the brown leaves or anything that gets, has to be trimmed off and it all gets composted. It turns back into soil for us. So that's been really, really fantastic. Geraniums everywhere. This is a real pretty one. I don't think they're flowering too much right now, but there's some red flowers. Those are like red velvet. They're beautiful. These are really beautiful. They trail. I bought that last year, I think. I don't know what kind it is, but they are really beautiful. Easy to propagate. You just break it off, stick it in something, and it grows. And then, of course, more back there. That one's growing. There's my cement fountain. You know my fountains. I love my fountains. I've been working on fountains. And now that I don't go to the thrift stores, I haven't gone to a thrift store since March. I have to get creative. So I've got the water fountains of stuff I found in the house. And that's what I'm doing now. This is Dazzling blue kale. And you can see the goldfinches have been chewing the leaves on the top. That was left for them purposely. They've got some they haven't touched. I'll show you as we go down. And I left this get tall. The thing is massive. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And they sit on top and they chew the young leaves. This is some of the seed pods I left on there, and they've been eating the seeds out of there. A lot of you have told me, see, he just flew in while I'm standing here. A lot of people have said, why don't you put sunflower seed out for the goldfinches? We feed them sunflower seed. On the East Coast, it's a different goldfinch than what we have. See the goldfinch? He's coming in right now to eat greens. They have a smaller, softer beak, so they don't eat sunflower here. They like greens, they like green seeds, younger seeds, softer seeds. This is literally, he's 4 feet from me where I'm standing. Can you see him up there? That's probably a hen or a young bird. They're so tame. I'll sit out here. They're all coming in now. I'll see he's going to the seed right there. This is what they eat. This is their staple. They eat a lot of weeds, and then of course you can see there's weed abatement, so they take all the flowers out, the wildflowers, and so they come here to eat because there is no other food. And of course, let me step over. They come here to take a bath, and they come here to get a drink. This is real, and I'm going to be screaming when that fruit beetle flies into me again. Look at that. This is right in front of me. And this is what they do all day. They come here to the garden, and they come here to forage, eat, drink, and hang out. They hang out in all the trees. And I just love this. And there's nothing better than coming out here and sitting. Anyways, I've kind of gone off. Let's go back to the garden tour. So this is all spearmint growing all over the ground. We got spearmint growing all over the ground, and we do make tea out of this. We got garlic, chives, and walking onions, and there's even a little bit of geranium in there. This is oregano, and then in here this is that Goliath tomato. I don't think it's got tomatoes yet, but it's got flowers. And then I've got another tomato plant in here that I planted, and more collard is growing. So we've got a lot of that going. And then the pepinos, we picked a lot of the pepinos that were on there, but it is, we'll see, here's one. When they're yellow, they're sweet. This one's sweet even when it's still white, and then it's throwing flowers, and you can take cuttings off of that. Need to clean this up, walking onions, and then orange mint is in there. How do I know it's orange mint? Orange mint is bright green, and chocolate mint is darker. I know by the color. I don't even have to touch it. tomatoes, look at this, celery, just all kinds of stuff. We have more tomatoes this year than we really need, which is working out fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Just walk through and eat and eat and eat. I haven't even gotten to this yet. I wanted to plant in there. I haven't gotten to it. Haven't gotten to this. The celery, this is all celery seed. I've been trying to get rid of it. I want to cut that back because I don't need any more celery. Haven't gotten to this yet. I started setting up, see what I do in here? Just set up leaves and everything. And then I'm going to, and there's red vein sorrel from the seeds. I'm going to plant a squash probably in there, probably a zucchini. Then that is the tree collard that fell over. We'll walk over here so you can see it. Yeah, it fell over a long time ago. There's the tree collard. And it fell over and it winds around and then it grew from the bottom and it grows up. So we've got all these trees on a tree collard that fell over. Gary had one in his garden like that. So that is really cool. I really like the way it's growing. It's not getting so massive like the other one is. This is the other dazzling blue kale. Isn't this something? I cut this back to nothing. Look how beautiful. To nothing. I cut it back. It was a big stump. See how it grew? And I left it, and the birds don't touch this one. This is the one they chew on, the one that's on the other side. So because it's higher, they prefer to go higher, so they go on that, and they've been leaving this one alone. And so I take the leaves and eat from that one. I could easily get rid of the birds. If you had a problem and you had goldfinches and stuff eating your the birds eating your kale, all you have to do is throw some tulle on top. And then they can't eat it. They won't bother with it. But I let them eat that because I don't need it all. I mean, you can see I don't need it all. There's no way. We have plenty of greens in here. This is mainly greens, but then we've got other stuff growing in here too because we got eggplant. So I've got egg. I don't know if there's any left because I've been picking them, hopefully as fast as I see them, but I've got more flowers. So yes, we've been getting eggplant. In fact, there's one in the house that I haven't cooked yet, and that's going to get cooked. This is something I'm just setting up now. There's some potatoes in here, just potatoes from the store I had left. And then there's going to be a zucchini, hopefully that's going to take off. And that's going to grow. And then here, that's the tree collard. It kind of fell over. And it was taller than that. You can see what happened here. It's going over. So it's probably going to end up coming off soon. I'll leave it right now until it's way gone. But all these could be cuttings. They're really big to be cuttings, but they do take. Gary took a really big one, put it in his garden, and it took off. So we'll see, but I'm leaving it right now. The birds don't eat tree collard. That's one thing they don't chew on. I don't know if they don't like the taste, it's too hard, the leaves, leathery, or they just prefer the dazzling blue kale. And that could be. They have a preference. They like something, they'll go for that. More lemon verbena in the back. Couldn't see that before because I couldn't get back there. Now I can. And a little purple tree collard back there. There's actually two of them back there. Let's see. Let me step back so you can see what's going on here. Isn't that cool? That's celery all in the ground. And that is growing in the clay. There's no wood chips there. That's just celery seed, blew there, found some cracks, probably because it rained and it dripped off the roof. And the seeds got into the cracks in the clay and they grew, and I leave them. I do water them every so often, but I think that's really cool. And then here I've got more celery, and I'm trying to collect baby walking onions. So when I see them, I throw them in here and I'll have a whole bunch. That's what I'm hoping. Chocolate mint and then strawberry mint on the end there. I don't eat that, but I do use the chocolate mint. Sweet potato, I was going to pull it out. This whole thing was going to be changed, and then I changed my mind with the pandemic that what if I do want to grow more sweet potatoes, something comes up. So I left it. I'll dig it up and see what's in there later. Oh, there's a dragonfly. Oh, he just zipped by. And then the lemon balm. I know I'm shaking you all over the place. That was in a tiny pot, and I just lifted it. Oh, gosh. That smells incredible. Just love that. Make tea out of that. That is wonderful. Or put it in if you're making eggs. Anything you want, lemon, fish, smells really good. Yeah, I've got a couple dragonflies flying around me. Look at this. I hope you can see this. And then the fruit beetles that I don't like. Okay, so what else do we have here? Feeding the birds. This is all, yeah, we feed the birds in this cage so no hawks can swoop down and get them. Here, I'm going to start clearing out a lot. This is a waste. It is a wasted space. I can't get to a lot of stuff The collard is growing over a container I can grow in. I need to be able to get freely to that. That's an old Dazzling blue kale, and it's old. You can see it's old, and I don't even maintain it, take care of it, do anything. So I need to clean that up and then get to that tote, or move the tote in a better place. Kind of straighten this up. So eventually, as you can see, I have been slowly clearing out a lot of this. It's been nice. It's been a jungle, but the point is I don't need that much. This is actually collard all over the ground. I don't need all that collard. And a lot of it, it's just spindly. It's actually a waste of valuable space that I could grow in. I'm going to trim it back, and I probably will do cuttings because it is an old plant, also 4 or 5 years old. So I'll probably do cuttings and then clean this up, but I'm not going to do it right now. I've got so many gardens, I don't even know where to go. It's like you come out here, where am I going to work? And I stand here trying to figure where I'm going to go, and then it's like, I'll go back and do something else. So I've got to figure out how I want to do it and what I want to do, and then I'll just go for it, like the front yard. Decided what I was going to do, and I said, Gary, I need a little help if you're here. He said yes, and we went for it. And that's what I'm going to do here. But here I don't need this help. I can just cut it out and change things around and then clear this up, because look at all the places I can grow, be it in the ground or a container, and I probably will use containers. I don't have to water as much because of containers, the way they hold the water. The ground gets so hard and dry, I have to water more. Even with wood chips, I still like containers better. Gary likes his wood chips, I like containers. There is the papaya, and yes, we have no shortage of papaya. That one in the middle, which was the small one last year that we had thought originally to cut out because it was so small, is the one that is now taking off and reaching for the sky. We get papayas on that all the time. There's a couple small ones on there. Boy, are they tiny and yellow. And then the big one ended up really severely getting damaged by the frost, or I should say the cold we had this winter. So Gary topped it. I don't know if it'll make a comeback, but all the others, it's like they're taking turns on growing. As soon as one goes, the other one takes off. So we're leaving them just the way they are. And yes, they are in a plain old tote, not even that big. But see the roots? They have gone through the bottom, and that's what they'll do if they're determined to grow, and into the ground. But I don't have to water the ground. When I water the papaya, I just water the tote. And then this tote, it's not a tote, this container, I throw leaves in and I water the container. That goes into the ground, so they get fed out of that as well. So they're getting fed by both because we load them both with leaves. This has worked out fantastic. This is why we have such a large production of papaya, because we feed them with containers. It's so easy. It's like they take care of themselves. This I'm in the middle of setting up. There was really not much in here, so I'm throwing leaves and stuff. There was a little bit of garlic chives, and that's taking off because I'm working on this. And this I'm going to cut out. This is all going to be compost because I don't really need all the seeds from all the Swiss chard. So I'm going to clean this up and going to plant in there. I'm not sure yet what, but that I did set up, and I did put the holes on the corner. You can probably see it because it's going to water this tree, so I don't even have to bother watering the tree, because that tote back there, the blue one's going to water this moringa tree. See? So everything takes care of itself. It's a cascading effect. Water that, the water goes down, all the leaves, anything that's growing in there, all that rotted water, let's call it rotted, it's really a compost tea, runs out, and it actually does something for another plant. It's working out fantastic. And then I got tomatoes growing in here. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And then tomatoes back here going up in the air. And then I've got a few strawberries. These are so old, the strawberries, and yet they're making a comeback. I'm actually thinking of moving them in different places. And what else is back there? A tomatillo growing back there. And these totes back here, I'm going to move them. I don't need them back there. I can't really get back there easily. I've got to move everything. And then you've got the moringa tree that shades out. So I think I'm going to move those totes somewhere else, or leave one tote and designate something really that I want to grow in there. I don't need all, they're old. Those totes are probably 4 or 5 years old, and I really just need to move them. Even this, see, I don't grow back there. In that container, Gary had these barrels once he cut, because it's hard to get in there and water and maintain. So I'm going to clean this whole area up when I get to it. That's when I get to it. All right, let's go through the gates. Okay, we're through the gates, and here's another tote I set up. Have them planted in it. I'm going to put a zucchini in there and maybe some cucumbers, but see how damp it is down there? I didn't even water this tote yesterday. So it hasn't been watered in almost 2 days, and it's watering this moringa here. So everything is working with something else, see? So this little moringa that didn't grow really last year is going to take off because of that tote that's bringing water out to where the moringa needs the water. That's really good. Think about that if you're setting up something. Make it work for you. Look at the papayas. Oh my gosh. This tree to me looks like it's leaning more and more. Gary says, well, it's not going anywhere. I don't know. It sure seems like it's leaning, but then it's sending all the shoots off, and it's growing papayas on bottom shoots as well. So I don't know, but he says it's not leaning. You know the story on the papayas. Yes, they're in containers, and they're doing really good, and each one has its own tote near it, its storage container near it. And then, of course, when you water it, we take all the leaves, we water it. Each one gets their own compost tea. There's my pomegranates. They're doing really good. It's full of pomegranates. I grew that from seed. And that tree is like, what, 2 years old? Maybe 2.5? Doing really good. Here's another pomegranate. So the papayas are doing really well. No complaints. And I haven't even planted in these totes. I've got so much growing, there's like no hurry. There's other things I'd want to do. So I haven't done anything, and I'm not sure if I will, or maybe I'll wait till fall and do something. We'll see. Let's walk over to the wall. Okay, we're at the wall. Haven't done anything there yet. There is the other moringa, and I'm going to plant another one here, walking onions. And I do want to move some of the totes I've got in here. That's the other thing I'm going to do. I really like totes. The containers work really good. Been trimming back the eggplant and struggling a little bit. It threw so much, and we'll see if it makes it. If it doesn't, I'll plant another one. There's a container, a tote back there. Just some Swiss chard growing in there. This plant, to me, is amazing. Why is this one amazing and the other ones are not? I'm not going to pull it out, but let me show you something. Should do a complete video on this, because this plant, I don't want to pull on it. Do you see the trunk? The trunk on this, it is a zucchini or a hybrid. Winds and winds and winds. That's what a lot of them do. They unwind. They don't run like your kabochas, your delicatas, your spaghetti squash run. Okay, anything that grows like a zucchini does not, but the plant will unwind and produce fruit. That plant is last year's plant. And I know that for a fact because I didn't plant anything in it. It was running all over the ground because it was unwinding. I shouldn't use the word running. It was unwinding. And because it was still a little green, I composted everything back here. If you go back to the other videos, you will see that everything was taken out. Everything was empty. Oh my gosh, there's another big zucchini. And I walk through here. It's like, they're small when I look at them. It's like, well, I don't need it yet. I'll leave it. And then like overnight, they just take off. But the point is, it was all over the ground, so I wound it up and I dropped it in here thinking, well, I'll get to it later. There's a new fruit, and there's the white one. It's literally wound and wound and wound. So can you grow zucchini fruit on an old plant? I would tell you no, but now I have to say yes, it is possible. So if you don't pull something out, it could have a second life, and that's what it did. It was all yellow, the leaves. It looked terrible, and then all of a sudden, it just took off. Now, the only other thing I can think of, that might have done it, because that's creating so much compost tea that I go through that a lot of times, and I take the buckets that are underneath, and I walk through here, and with my ladle, my dipper, I go through and I water everything, and I was watering that one, and all of a sudden it brought it back to life. It turned green. Are the leaves the greatest? No. Is the plant the greatest? No. But as far as fruit, yes, I've got a white one down there and a greenish one. So I'm flabbergasted that a plant that's over a year old, planted last spring, not this spring, the spring before, is still growing. So that's why that one amazes me. These, they're doing okay. I've got a little zucchini there. Some of them are newer plants. Some of them are older plants. This one, I believe we picked a lot of them. These were already the little tiny round dumpling squashes, I believe. And then I've got, well, you've seen all this. This is zucchini. Look at this. More and more. And then we've got these. Now, some of these may be hybrids from kabocha. So I'm not sure. But either way, those would be baking squashes. You would kind of slice them and put butter or something on them, wrap them in foil, bake them, or put them in a baking pan. They're not zucchini. They're more of a winter squash. And then I've got, see what they look like? They're yellow. And they should be sweet to eat. There's another zucchini in there. And more zucchini coming. I've got to get them off. The problem is I end up storing zucchini, and that's the last thing I want to do because I like the zucchini easy to cut. And yes, that's an avocado tree growing back there. I try not to throw the pits in my compost, but I guess I did. Here's another zucchini. Look, it's multicolored green, like it's marbled. Because some of the seeds I saved, so they're hybrids. Let's see, another zucchini in here. And then, of course, tomatoes. I'm getting some tomato plants started in here little by little because I know that tomatoes will make it through the winter. Obviously, the squash can too, but I'd really rather start fresh. But I want to dot some tomato plants in here, and then in the winter, they'll hug the wall for warmth, and then I should be able to get tomatoes all winter, in theory, as the squash plants die back and then the squash leaves get all composted back and become soil again. This is done really well. I never made it across all the way like I was going to because Gary is now building more and more ponds. So we've got the bathtub, which is doing really good. You know what, let's walk over there. I really didn't want to make this long. I've got 19 minutes left on my stick. So let's go over here real quick, see if we can wrap this thing up, but I'll let you see it. This has been getting an algae bloom, and he's been clearing it off. The birds come in here, the hawks come in here, everybody comes in here, drinks and takes a bath. I've got tomatoes growing back here. Isn't that funny? I've got a tomato plant back there. Look at the tomatoes. So we're slowly, hopefully we'll get this when we have more time, really looking cute. That's my goal. And then this one, he's leaving it, he's setting it up. So I believe that's duckweed on the top, and he'll clear that out and do what he wants later. He's got an idea of what he's going to do with all this. There's that big solar panel we got. That's the 5-watt. That is really, really good. And I've got another one I've got to set up. And this he just put together. So this is what he's been working on. And he's got plans. I don't know, he's going to do a liner. And I think he's going to have water terracing through, but don't quote me on that. He's got all these plans. And then I'll probably plant walking onions or something because they're so hardy all inside the blocks. We'll see how it goes. That's what's going on over there. And then, you know what? Let's look at my truck bed. I have so much squash. Another pomegranate. Look at that. That was supposed to be delicata. That is not delicata, but it's some sort of hybrid. So I'm probably going to take one off soon and bake it and see what it tastes like. Hopefully it's sweet like delicata. Tomatillos came up. I didn't plant them in there, but they did. And then I've got more squash. The whole thing is covered in squash. It's one thing, we've got more squash than we can use, but we'll use it. The yellow squash. I love the yellow squash. Keep it well watered and it's really soft. If you don't and you let it get dried out, and then water it, it will get hard, and you'll bring it in, you'll go to cut it, and your yellow squash will be hard like a rock, and you'll go, what happened? Because it needs water all the time. There's my apple trees I planted by seed. Nothing's bothered it, so the deer must not be coming through. And so I keep planting them, and whatever happens to them happens. I don't care, but I'm planting all the seeds. They're coming up. I'll open an apple up, and the seeds look good. I'll drop them in a pot, and then they grow. Look at that. And then here's the cardboard box. So we'll see. I think the one I planted, all of these have been grown by seed, but I think these are going to do better, so I'll keep the strongest in tomatoes, tomatillos, and then I've got basil and sage. So we'll see how this goes on there. This is the avocado that came up in the wood chips. The wood chips that were delivered, and that's what happened here. So one came up, so we left it. And then I'm going to end it with my favorite garden. Without a doubt, this is my favorite garden. This is the easiest thing to maintain. Look, I have a watermelon. This is the one I hand pollinated. Look at that. Just in case they didn't have enough, because there was only one male flower over there, and there was one male flower there. The male flower does not have the little pearl underneath. The female has a little tiny pearl, And I hand pollinated it in the other video that you saw. I wasn't doing a hand pollinating, I just did it since I was doing a video, and it took, so I'm really excited about that. Well, I'm gonna let some of the watermelon go along the back, and then when there's a few watermelon on it, I'll probably clip the plant and try to stop it. So it will concentrate on growing the watermelon that are on there, like 3 should be enough. But look how beautiful this is. Look how easy it is to take care of. And this is why I'm talking about the water. See how it's dripping right now? I think I watered that yesterday afternoon. Boy, is it hot. And it's still dripping. And what I'll do is I'll grab one of those and I'll go do the wall, because I don't want to throw the water out. I mean, I water it back, but there's more water than I need. So I go back and I do the wall, and I think that's why that plant from last year took off, because it was getting this water, this rich water coming out. But this, I harvested a massive zucchini, and I've got more growing in the back. And then I've got the tomatoes coming up here. Strawberries, these are old strawberry plants I put in here. We'll see what happens with that. Another zucchini coming up. This is brand new. It's amazing how fast. Look, this is a tomato cutting. It's amazing how fast they come up. I can't believe how fast this stuff is growing. This was just a tiny seedling the other day, and it's taking off. And I have cucumber. That's the cucumber the other day I pulled the container off of. I have those cottage cheese containers or yogurt containers or whatever. The bottom's cut out, but I like to put the ring in there. I can show you real quick. No, I guess, yeah, here it is. The reason I like it is when you push it in the ground. Here. When I push it in the ground, I can plant seeds, and then it gets watered directly. So no matter what, the water won't run away. It will always water the seeds, and it works so great. So I do that in the spring when I'm doing, or summer, doing direct, sowing into the ground. It just works out great. When the watermelon, everything's doing great. I can't complain on that. I love the sun sails I started making out of t-shirts. You move them yourself. You don't have to climb on a ladder. You don't have to do anything. And the way I made them with the holes, please, if you haven't seen that video, I just put it up, I think, yesterday. I was going to put it up 2 weeks ago, and the truth is I went in after I did the video again on the day it was over 100 degrees, and I couldn't see on the screen, and not only did I cut my head off, I really don't care if my head's in there or not. You couldn't see what I was doing, but I did have bits and pieces, so I put the whole thing together and I got it up yesterday because it's so important. Look at this. It creates such great shade, and it blows so beautiful with those holes in the center. And we've had some real big gusts coming, and no matter what, the way I design these, they're not going anywhere. All they can do is go up, and then all the air goes through where your head would go through, the neck hole, and then any slits I made in, and it has worked fantastic here for these really, really hot days. And then when you want to put them away, you just gather up the sticks, throw them off to the side somewhere, and then when it gets hot again, you pull them out. And then the hummingbirds, they've got their own place now too here. It's just been amazing. This garden has just changed my life. I feel like changing the whole thing and doing it only this way. There's so much control this way, no bending, no back-breaking gardening. You walk through, you see leaves that are browning, you pull them right off, you drop them in a bucket. You've got something you can compost later, all the brown leaves. And plus, when you take yellow and brown leaves off, especially in the heat, the plant doesn't have to try to take care of something it's not really using anymore. If the leaf is all yellow, it's not getting anything from it. And I've really got to go service all those. I got to get on the ground to do all that. I got to bend down and pull all the yellow leaves off and all the brown leaves. So really, if you haven't started gardening and you're just watching me and just like seeing garden tours, please, if you've got a chair, if you've got something you say you can't garden because you can't bend down, get a chair and just try it. Set up one container. It's amazing how much food you can grow in one container. Grow what you like. So with that, I'm done. It's going to be 100, and I'm going to go get some gardening done in the shade and work on my front yard. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye, everybody. And guess what we scored for free? Look at this. 3 patio chairs and 3 of these black chairs. Somebody posted them locally. They were giving them away. And a footstool. This chair is broke, so I'm going to definitely be using that to plant on. And the other ones, I'll decide later. Right now, we're just letting them air out in the sun. And that was a really cool find.